We're worshiping here this morning, this very moment, the great I am God, King of kings, Lord of lords, God of the galaxies. But what's amazing about this is Moses asked for a noun, but God gave him a verb. You tell them, I am who I am has sent me. Why? Because verbs are real. Verbs do something. God is real. God is alive. God is active. Yes, He is a person, but He is also a verb. He does stuff, incredible stuff, previously unbelievable stuff in people's lives when they simply believe. And I know that He does incredible stuff, simply unbelievable stuff in churches, in schools, in pastors and church members and principals and teachers and students when they simply believe. But again, the question is, do you and I believe that God can do something marvelous, something meaningful, and something miraculous in your life today, in the life of your church today, in the life of your school, in the life of the Upper Columbia Conference? Do you believe? That's the message that's going out all across the conference today. Asking people if they believe in this God and if He can do it again. Because whenever we choose to serve this verbing, ising, always I aming God who never fails, the God who goes with us, sustains us, and empowers us to fulfill His vision, incredible things happen. Unbelievable things happen. I've tasted of it, my friends. I've tasted of it. I want to taste it again. And I'm saying, oh, dear God, please do it again. Only this time, do it again in us. Do it again in us. You see, whether it's Old Testament times or the children of Israel or the children of UCC, God's power is still the same today. Can you say amen? God is able to move today. As we wrap up the message, God asked Moses a very powerful and penetrating question in Exodus chapter 4 and verse 2. He said, Moses, after all the beating around the burning bush, Moses, wait for a minute. What's that in your hand? And Moses looked at what he had in his hand, and he had a crude wooden shepherd's staff. A stick. That's all he had was a stick. It was used to guide and herd the sheep. But think about it for a moment, because this is what happens with God. God takes ordinary things, ordinary people, and makes them extraordinary, especially when they're surrendered to Him. That stick, that shepherd's staff, God used that shepherd's staff to bring 10 plagues upon the nation of Egypt. God used that shepherd's staff when Moses held it up to part the Red Sea so that they could go through. God used that shepherd's staff when Moses struck the rock to bring water for them all to drink. And God used that shepherd's staff when Moses held it up along with others who believed. Aaron and Hur, they defeated the enemy. They defeated the Amalekites. And what God did then, He can do again. But the question is, what is that in your hand? What are you holding in your hand today that God might use as He calls you and me with His serving question? Because I believe it's time. I believe the greatest days are just ahead for the Upper Columbia Conference. I believe we're living in the most exciting time of Earth's history. I believe we've been given the privilege and the joy of sharing the most wonderful message in the entire world as we know it with all of the lost men and women and boys and girls in the inland Northwest and beyond. I believe we're standing on the borders of the Promised Land. Do you believe that today? I believe that the church has been wandering around in the wilderness, but we are right on the borders of the Promised Land, and what we need today is God's vision for how to reach out to lost men and women and boys and girls and to cross over with Him into the Promised Land. I believe it's time. But what is that in your hand? For Harold Lowe, on the night of the sinking of the Titanic, he held an oar in his hands, a simple wooden stick. And he stood there in Lifeboat 14 while it was being lowered away from the sinking Titanic. There were over 40 people on board. The bow of the boat went right down to the ocean floor, and the stern stuck halfway through being lowered. Something happened and the ropes jammed. And now one of his crew members had to crawl up that Lifeboat 14, cut the ropes so that then the stern fell down, splashing into the water as well. But when it did, it caused a hole, a place where the cold, icy, frigid water began to pour in. And the ladies on board Lifeboat 14 began to rip their gowns and plug the leak so that they could oar away from the Titanic. And they made it about 150 yards away. And then Harold Lowe saw Lifeboat 4, Lifeboat 10, and Lifeboat 12. And he made one of the most incredible decisions that a man or woman could ever make. He made the decision right there. He said, please, everyone on board Lifeboat 14 except for the crew, please transfer to Lifeboat 4, 10, and 12. He said, we're going back. We're going back. And Harold Lowe and a couple of crew members sailed back towards the sinking Titanic. And when they got there, they were confronted by hundreds of dead bodies in the water. But then they began to hear the cries of people crying out for help, moaning, groaning in the icy, cold, frigid waters. They sailed back. And Harold Lowe and the two crewmen began to lift survivors out of the cold, icy, frigid waters. Lifted them out to safety on Lifeboat 14. If I had one dream or one vision for the churches of the Upper Columbia Conference, is that every single one of them would become a Lifeboat 14. And that we would say, God, we know we're living towards the close of Earth's history. We're living in the most exciting moments in this entire world, and we get the privilege of saying, God, here I am. I'll go. Send me. Harold Lowe and the two crew members made the decision to sacrificially search for and to serve. Today, you and I are standing on holy ground. I believe God is calling us to be Lifeboat 14s. He's calling us to go back out into the stormy seas, to sacrificially search for and to serve. One more. As you leave the service today, you're going to receive a card. It's a Vision 2023 to 2025 card. And it has beautiful pictures on it of people who are young and old from all walks of life who've made a commitment to serve one more. And I'd like to invite you this afternoon, tonight, tomorrow, to flip that card over and go to the QR code or go to the website and go and take a look at the new vision, Serve One More, from the Upper Columbia Conference for 2023 to 2025. I want you to look at the initiatives. There's a welcome video there from me. This sermon is there. You can take it and share it with someone. And the strategic plan is there. We believe God has been guiding us. The whole thing has some very big and audacious initiatives in it, but they're all driven by one purpose, and I want you to hear this, because this is really from the bottom of my heart. Because many times when we think of the conference, it's even said with a negative overtone. But I don't know if you realize it or not. I discovered it as I was driving into the office a long time ago. It says on a stone at the gate of the Upper Columbia Conference, it says Upper Columbia Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, a resource center. And that's what's driving this vision. We now have a vision at the Upper Columbia Conference to truly live that out, even in ways we haven't totally imagined yet. We want to become a resource center to the entire field of the Upper Columbia Conference. We want to resource you. We want to support you. We want to assist you, your family, your church, your school, and all the entities of the Upper Columbia Conference to catch this vision to sacrificially serve one more. We want to serve you. Can you believe that? We want to resource you. I know my time is almost up here, probably up. Right now we're raising, just for years 2023 to 2025, $2 million. A minimum of. And I don't know where it's coming from. It's going to come in. And every single penny is to go to the churches and schools and entities of the Upper Columbia Conference that want to begin serving one more in creative ways, maybe ways that they've always dreamed of doing and haven't had the opportunity. We want to resource you. For me, this is a special moment. All the churches of the Upper Columbia Conference that are participating are standing on holy ground. God is showing us His vision for the future, and we don't even know all of it yet. In the document, you'll look in and you'll see there are even blanks for God to do what He wants to do that He hasn't revealed to us yet. This is a moment that I invite you to join me, to join your fellow brothers and sisters in the entire Upper Columbia Conference to make a decision to serve one more. Why? Jesus said in Matthew 20:28, the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give His life as a ransom for many. May God bless you today. I hope you'll receive one of these cards. Go to the website and prayerfully consider how you might help your Upper Columbia Conference to sacrificially search for and serve one more.